I really wanted to use a sledgehammer for my thumbnail of my Misery review because of the whole hobbling scene. Surprisingly though, we don't own a sledgehammer, so you just have to put up with a knife and my impersonations of Kathy Bates as Annie Wilkes. They cheated us! He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodle car! Oh, heavens to Betsy! Oh, Paul, you big kidder. I'm your #1 fan. God, and you guys thought that Star Wars fans were bad. Hey up guys, so today's movie that I'm reviewing is one of my favourites, and just like me, it turned 30 years old this year. It's the suspenseful psychological thriller from Rob Reiner, Misery. Adapted from the Stephen King novel, Misery tells the story of famed author Paul Sheldon, played in this film by James Cann. Paul is known for writing a series of popular romance novels centered around the titular character Misery Chastain. After completing his first non-Misery novel, Paul gets caught in a blizzard and crashes his car, only to be rescued. Misery book in which Paul kills off Annie's beloved Misery. With the character death of Misery, this signifies that there is going to be no more Misery novels for Annie to read, and Annie ain't happy about it. So the obsessive Annie keeps Paul locked up in her house while he's immobile and torments him and tortures him until he agrees to write a new Misery book which brings her beloved Misery back to life. Before we continue, if you guys are enjoying this video, please do help me out by hitting that thumbs up button. If you want more movie and TV content just like this, consider hitting subscribe, and please do let me know what you think of the movie Misery in that comment section down below. Out of all of Stephen King's stories which have been adapted into films, Rob Reiner's Misery is easily one of my favourites. Not quite Shawshank Redemption, but it comes a close second. From start to finish, this film is gripping. It's so deliciously tense. All of its components, settings, cinematography, lighting, camera work, music, and of course performances add up to an incredibly suspenseful and entertaining thriller. I think part of the reason it works so well is the simplicity and plausibility of its story. Misery is essentially a two-person character piece set inside the confines of one setting, Annie's home, which, like Paul, we feel very trapped in. How Paul comes to be in this nightmarish situation isn't far-fetched. There's nothing supernatural about it. It could happen, and that's the unsettling thing about the premise of this film, is that it could happen to you. It makes the horror feel all the more real. The power dynamics between the two characters is riveting because Paul is dependent on Annie to survive, but she's a loony. How he handles each interaction with this clearly unstable woman is critical because his life hangs in the balance. You get a real sense of stakes. With Annie's erratic mood swings, as well as drastic escalating actions she takes in order to prevent Paul from leaving the house, this film is one giant nerve-wracking game of kerplunk. You're just waiting for Annie's marbles to come crashing down on Paul. Rob Reiner did a phenomenal job of directing this film. You wouldn't know from watching Misery, but this was actually his first time helming a horror/thriller, but he crafts this palpable atmosphere which is both tense and darkly humorous. His camera work is reminiscent of Hitchcock thrillers like Vertigo and Rear Window. He utilizes clever angles to give you ideas of the power dynamics between the two characters, as well as very intense close-ups to maximize viewer discomfort, especially when Annie is going off on one of her rants. There are several sequences in this film which are nail-biting, like the scene where Paul breaks out of his room and tries to escape Annie's house, only to have to rush back to his room before Annie returns. That's edge-of-your-seat stuff. It's amplified greatly by Robert Layton's taut editing, as well as Mark Shaman's score. But of course, what Misery is best remembered for is its performances. Well, that and the infamous hobbling scene, which would have been a contributing factor as to why many believe that this is Kathy Bates' most iconic role, because it's such a scarring performance. It's kind of unforgettable, and it's no wonder she bagged herself a Best Actress Oscar for this role. Fun fact, Kathy Bates is the first woman in history to win an Academy Award for a performance in a horror film. And to this day, people still love watching and talking about Kathy Bates' performance in Misery. And that's because there was a lot for Bates to work with. At the start of the film, she's this sympathetic, lonely, frumpy woman who is so grateful and attentive to the man whose books saved her from depression and suicidal thoughts. She's a ray of sunshine fangirl to begin with, But as the film progresses, we see the darker, sinister side of her fandom. She becomes this controlling, deranged psycho, and the way that Bates can flip so frequently back and forth between opposite ends of the spectrum is masterful. It's actually a real treat to watch how she does it. Now, it's true Kathy Bates does steal this film. However, James Cann really doesn't get enough credit for his performance as Paul Sheldon. In fact, Kathy Bates' performance wouldn't be as impactful as it is without Caan's. As Paul is the one on the receiving end of Annie's abuse, it's him who sells the terror of the situation. Remember, great acting is often reacting, and Caan's performance is mostly a reactive performance. His character is mostly passive. He's either in bed or in a wheelchair for the majority of this film, and he's constantly reacting to Annie's fluctuating behavior. It's beautifully subtle work from Caan, and his comic timing and deadpan delivery make him the straight man to Kathy Bates' boisterous and uncontrollable Annie. The film is a supremely well executed double act, and Caan should have been nominated alongside Kathy Bates. In the end, guys, I still love Misery. I think I must have rewatched it like 5 or 6 times, and it holds up so well. I honestly think if it was going to age or become dated, it would have happened by now. But if anything, it may speak to today's audience even more. Ultimately, Misery explores the dangers of extreme fandom and how some fans can become so obsessed with fictional properties that it becomes like a religion to them. And we all know how vicious and toxic certain fan groups have become over the past 10 years. So thematically speaking, Misery was way ahead of its time. As a film, it's supremely well crafted, balancing horrific, even disturbing thrills with dark comedy. The acting is first rate, and the music and editing heightens Rob Reiner's sharp direction. So let's ask them 3 questions. Firstly, would I watch this again? Absolutely. I can't get enough of Misery. I always keep coming back to it for more. And what does Misery love? Question number 2, do I recommend it for you guys? Absolutely. This is one of the best Stephen King adapted movies there is. It's got a very simple plot, which is so well executed, and it's got some tremendous performances from Kathy Bates, James Cann, and also Richard Farnsworth, who plays Sheriff Buster. I almost forgot about him. He's also great in this. It does have some scenes which are very uncomfortable to watch, but I wouldn't say that they're bloody. They're more gnarly than anything, but still, some people might have a hard time watching a couple of these scenes. An ankle should not go that way. But I still recommend that you watch it. It's just such good entertainment, and it's certainly a film I think everyone should watch at least once in their life. And final question, what score do I give it out of 10? Kinda comes with the whole film you gotta see before you die classification. So Rob Reiner's Misery gets a score of 10 out of 10. But as always, guys, it's just one bloke's opinion. I would love to hear your thoughts on the movie Misery. Whatever you have to say about this film, let me know in that comment section down below. Also, my quick question for today is, what is your favourite Stephen King performance? Is it Kathy Bates in Misery, or is there another performance that you love even more? Whatever you have to say, let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please help me out by hitting that like button. If you want more movie and TV content just like this, don't forget to click subscribe. And if you want to follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd, on that video description down below. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Airfield, and I'll see you next time.